Hi everybody, it's Angelo from Angelo's Workbench. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, which is video number 2 of the Revell Ferrari 458 Italia video series, we're going to cover quite a bit. While the body was curing the primer and the red paint that was applied to the bottom for the stripe, I proceeded to remove all of the parts from the sprues. You can see me doing that here. I then also repaired a warped chassis, and then once the body was cured, the red paint fully, I was able to mask off the red stripe and spray the flat graphite metallic that's going to be the body color for the Ferrari. Here you can see me attaching the motor parts together so that I could paint them as a unit. Here you can see that while removing one of the shock absorbers from the sprue, it was actually cracked and a little tiny part went flying. That will be very easy to repair later on with a piece of styrene rod that I will drill out and install into the shock. And that completes removing the parts from the sprues. Having these little organizers are extremely convenient. Little parts can get lost very easy. You want to be careful that you don't lose any. Now we can talk about this chassis. Out of the package, the chassis was pretty warped. Whether it was in shipping the kit got too warm or just from being compacted in the box for too long, who knows. But rather than calling up Revell and ordering up a new chassis, they're very easy to fix. All you need is a little bit of heat, and you can flatten it right out. Bend it right back to flat and straight and true, and then the kit will assemble significantly easier. If you try to assemble it with a warped chassis, you're going to have a real hard time. So what I have here is a heat gun, and what I'm going to do is warm up the chassis, and you want to be very careful that you don't make it too warm. If you're using a heat gun, I would suggest no more than 5 or 10 seconds at a time as far as heat application, and I would not use the high setting. Some guys use boiling hot water to do this also. Again, I would caution you to be very careful. If you melt the styrene too much, it'll turn to mush and then you're done. So very little heat. It's better to have to do several applications of heat than to put too much heat on and ruin the chassis. With the chassis problem corrected, I can move on to getting the chrome off of the chrome-plated parts. I use oven cleaner for this. It's very simple. Put it in a chemical-proof container. This is actually a Chinese food container. Spray the Easy Off oven cleaner onto the chrome parts, and in 5 minutes, the chrome will basically completely be gone and will look like this. It's important to note that you must thoroughly clean the parts after you're done with the oven cleaner, and you should wash your hands very thoroughly. Don't get any of that on your skin. So now it's time to move on to masking the red stripe. I chose to paint the lower portion of the body red and then mask off where I wanted it to remain red and then paint the entire car gray. I thought that it was easier than having to mask the entire painted body when I wanted to spray the red. tape I am using is my favorite frog tape. It's referred to as. I get it at a home improvement store called Home Depot. The frog tape looks, feels, and acts just like the Tamiya tape, but it comes in a larger roll and is substantially less expensive. After applying all of the masking tape, I will go around the car and I will make sure that all of the masking tape appears consistent in color, in that all of the tape has been burnished or pressed down to the body so that the edges of the tape will seal and not allow any bleed over under the tape. Now that all of the masking is completed, I will be using Tamiya XF56, which is the flat metallic gray, and I will be using that as the body color. I will first seek to put a light coat around the tape to seal the tape in, and also get all of the hard-to-reach edges and hard-to-reach places, so that when I put on my coats, I don't miss anything. At this point in time, I'm applying the second coat, and what most likely will be the final coat. These metallic silvers and graphites cover exceptionally well. You seldom need more than 2 coats. I'm just giving it a final overall spray to ensure that I don't have any striping, which can occur when you have painted lines that show your strokes. You want to have some broad spray from a little bit further away from the body, not too far so that the paint will dry before it hits the surface, but far enough away where you can increase the fan of the spray fan of your airbrush. As you can see here, I am now removing the masking tape. While the paint is still a little damp, this prevents the tape from pulling up the paint. If you can remove it while it's still a little damp, you won't have the chance of removing some of the paint with the tape, because the paint has cured and has now become a more rigid surface. After I'm done removing the tape, that will be it for this video. Coming up in the next video, we will continue our progress on the Revell Ferrari 458 Italia. I hope you'll join me then. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Angelo's Workbench.